What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about 10 low elo mistakes that I've made while playing as a low elo player. And if you guys enjoy the video, make sure to hit that like button down below and subscribe. And without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, I want to get one thing out of the way before we start the video. I am nowhere near a top ranked player, and in fact, if I finish my placements, I'd probably be ranked around bronze or maybe even iron. But it's easier for me to explain the mistakes that low elo players are making because I am one. It'll be a little bit easier for me to remember the things that I've made mistakes rather than pros having to think back to where they were at this point. But in this next clip, you will see the utilization of Crossfire. My teammate is stuck in the corner, and both enemies are looking at her, and we set up a Crossfire because I was looking at them a different direction when they were looking at me, and I ended up catching them off guard and getting both the kills. Utilizing Crossfire is extremely important, although it can be considered baiting your teammates if they are in a worse position than you, but when worst comes to worst, you just want to be able to peek the enemy and get both the kills, or end up catching all of them off guard, getting an easy pick or something. But utilizing Crossfire is the first tip for this video. Let's hop on into the next one. Next tip mistake I'm going to talk about is Crosshair Placement. Although Crosshair Placement is talked about so broadly across all videos, if you look up any video relating to mistakes, tips, and tricks, they're all going to resort to Crosshair Placement. But it is seriously a very important thing. As you can see here in this clip, my crosshair is slightly lower than where it should be. I want to have it aimed to where the opponent's head is, so all I have to do is click instead of doing a flicking motion. But right here, you can see that my crosshair is right where the KJ is going to be, and I get the easy kill, catch her off guard, and clutch up the round. So basically, crosshair placement is something that you want to work on as a low elo player to help improve. In this clip right here, I'm about to peek mid, and I see this Omen. All I have is the Spectre. I peek, and I have my crosshair in the right spot. Almost got a shot off, but he flashes, so I end up backing off, waiting for my teammate to come up and help me. And she is about to peek. I am using her to find out where the enemies are. It's kind of baiting, but you have to do what you gotta do. She dies. My crosshair's in the right place. I get one, I get two. Then I place down the smoke, and I'm waiting for more enemies to push. My crosshair's in the right spot. I get the raise, and the Omen comes peeking, and I get him. And I'm almost at 5 kills, almost get an ace, and I'm the last player standing. Eventually, I end up rotating and getting caught off guard, but for the most part, crosshair placement is super important because I got those 4 kills. I wouldn't have got those 4 kills if my crosshair was in no man's land, and honestly, just having good crosshair placement can carry you through low elo. I know it's talked about a lot, but if you have good crosshair placement, you can climb extremely easily. So that's tip number 9, or mistake number 9, crosshair placement. That brings us to mistake number 8. Mistake number 8 is not using your utility. Using your utility can completely change the tide of the match, whether it's late post-game or even early game, just to get that initial push into sight. Using your util even later as a duelist can help create that space that your team needs even after post-plant. So using util as a duelist, say chucking an extra flash or chucking the extra smoke to cut off that choke point, is super beneficial to your team. It allows them to create more space, allows you to get that extra pick that the enemy wasn't expecting because they weren't expecting you to get flash from that angle. Using util is one of the most important things that you can do. Even though you might waste a flash or two, might waste a smoke cutting off a useless angle, it's still super duper important that you use your util and eventually catch the enemy off guard, because if you catch the enemy off guard, you get that easy pick. It completely turns the tide of the round that your team is playing. And yeah, that's mistake number 8. Let's hop into the next one. Mistake number 7 that low elo players make is playing too aggressive on defense. Now look, playing aggressive on defense can be a good thing. I've overplayed as Jet and got many kills, and I've overplayed as Viper and got many kills. But when you have a one-way setup, like I do in this situation, and I have my util and I know where the enemies are trying to peek, as you can see right there, I got an easy pick on the Reyna, which changed the tide of the match. It was a 5v4, and now it's a 4v4. But using util and sitting back and playing defense like you're supposed to, like as you see right here, back to the last tip number 8, I used my util to go and pick up that Spectre. I could have got peeked from showers at any moment in time, but now I have a Spectre, and I'm sitting back in the same spot because I know they want to push this site, because I'm pretty sure the spike is dropped over in that back corner. I got an easy pick on the KJ, and now the Yoru is coming up, trying to pick me off, and since I'm playing passively, I get a peek around the boxes he wasn't expecting. So playing passively on defense can completely change the tides. If you're sitting in a corner, although you may be called a rat, you're sitting in a corner and you get an easy pick that changes the tide of the match. It's super beneficial. So anyways, that's mistake number 7 that I see low elo players making. Let's get on with the next one. Mistake number 6 comes in when you're in the character selection screen, and that's insta-locking a duelist. I know we've all been there. We've insta-locked Jet, we've insta-locked literally any other duelist, and we don't want to fill because we feel like our teammates should. Although that can work, and I've won games like that, it's just so much more beneficial to pick a healer, pick a smoke, someone that can lock down sight, someone that can shut down choke points. Although it may seem like your team should do it, you should also be the one to chip in and help. You shouldn't always have the privilege to lock Jet. I know some games that I've done it, and I have done it fairly often lately, and we've still won the match. But if your team is upset that you've insta-locked a duelist, then it was probably a better choice to pick someone else to help your team. See, in this match, I picked Sage, and I was able to end up top fragging because of the fact that my duelists were able to create a little bit of space, and I was able to capitalize off their deaths, not baiting them, essentially, but using their intel from where they died and all that stuff. But it is so much more beneficial to pick someone that can help out your team instead of being the person that wants to insta-lock a duelist at the start of the match. So wait in the character selection screen for a little bit longer before you pick your next character. But without further ado, that's mistake number 6. Let's hop into the next one. Mistake number 5 that low elo players make is not using comms to communicate with their team. But before I get into that, I want to thank you guys for watching this far into the video. If you've got it this far into the video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. But also check out my Discord link down in the description below. Join the community. Enough with the sellout stuff. Let's get back into the video. Alright, mistake number 5 that low elo players are making is not using comms to communicate with their team. Even if you're the first person to use comms, it could help your team to feel more confident to use comms and to actually change the tides of the match. Because if you're using comms and your teammate starts using comms, angles that were so threatening before become so much less threatening because you and your team are now able to know where the enemies are at and what angles to hold and peek. And honestly, not being afraid is the first thing you should do. Just opening your mic and talking with your team. Although it can be confusing at times with multiple people talking at the same time, but the amount of matches that I've played where nobody talks at all, and it's extremely frustrating because you don't know where the enemies are at, and bad things happen.
I got too cocky.
And that brings us to mistake number 4 that low elo players make, and that is running and gunning. Well, what I mean is running and gunning is when you're running and basically spraying. This mostly happens when players have the Spectre. I can't tell you how many times I've spectated a match where people have the Spectre and they just run and gun. Although the Spectre can use it, like you can use it very well running and gunning, it is super duper difficult and only luckily will you get the shot that you want hit. So basically you need first shot accuracy. If you're not using first shot accuracy and you're not stopping your movement completely when playing Valorant, your shots are completely inaccurate. And low elo players do this all the time. I did it for the longest time, and I still do it on occasion because I panic. But that is mistake number 4, and yeah, stop running and gunning. Alright, that brings us on to mistake number 3, and that is the economy in Valorant. Not many Valorant players at low elo understand the economy. It can be extremely hard to understand, especially when your players on the team are trying to make callouts saying that we should save, saying that we should buy. Not understanding that is gonna completely hurt you, and you're not gonna grow as a Valorant player, and you're not gonna climb the elo ranks if you are not learning how to spend your money properly. Like if your whole team is saving and you buy a Vandal or you buy a Phantom, then you're wasting that gun because your whole team is saving, and you're most likely not going to win the round because you're up against a team with full Vandals or full Phantoms. So basically, knowing when to talk to your team to figure out what they're doing and when they're doing it. Say they're full saving, you should full save as well. Say they're full buying, you should full buy as well. Try to get someone to buy for you, even if you don't have enough money. When you as a team communicate like that, you're going to grow and push up the elo so much faster because you guys have the advantage on your opponent. You all have the same weapons, you all are going to be the same strength, and it's super important. So yeah, anyways guys, that is mistake number 3, and that's not buying or not understanding the eco in Valorant. Alright, that brings us on to mistake number 2. Mistake number 2 is probably the most important on this list, and that is not checking the corners before you peek. It is so important to peek that corner and have your crosshair placement. That brings us back to the crosshair placement tip. To keep your crosshair where you think the opponent is going to be, you have to check the corners. You can't just mindlessly run across the gap and not have your crosshair placed where you think the enemy is going to be. You're not going to get the kill that way. You're going to get picked off, and you're going to rage and probably type you're a rat in chat and start complaining and stuff. It's honestly so important to check the corners. It takes one little movement of your mouse to check the corner. As you can see in this play right here, the Yoru had no idea that I was right behind this box, and I had an easy pick. Although I missed a few shots, I still had enough time to react and get the kill. But yeah, anyways guys, that's it for number 2. Please check your corners and have your crosshair placement actually fixed so that you're not aiming at nothing when you walk past a corner. But yeah, that's mistake number 2. Let's move on to the next one. And that brings us to the final mistake low elo players make of the video, and that's not having fun, but more specifically playing while tilted. You should never play more than a few ranked matches at a time because you'll start to tilt. Your game sense will start to go down, your mindset will start to get worse, and that's so crucial. You have to be in a good mindset to win games, to win gunfights, and to not complain and make your team upset. Keeping team morale is super important, and yeah, with that out of the way guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you liked the video, drop a subscribe down below and hit that like button, and I'll see you in the next one. Anyways, peace out.
Clutch! You only thought that was close.